before we talk about insurance, I want to say we're so excited about tonight.
Yes.
About the Do What's Right with Pat Hickman. And as Rick would say, I'm going to be like a 12-year-old girl at a Hannah Montana concert. I'm going to try to contain myself because I'm a big fan, I guess you would say. But all seriousness, the book that was written about his life is a life-changing book, and I can't even imagine what he's going to have to say tonight. It's going to be really great for everybody. It doesn't matter your age or your occupation or what, I think it's going to be great. We're looking forward to it, and we appreciate the radio network and the Presbyterian Church and Bryan Insurance for bringing him to Graham tonight. So, okay, so we're going to talk about roofers. And when Lisa and I were talking about this yesterday, because she is, that's one of her areas that she's targeting, I thought about you and you getting up on your roof.
Yeah, well,
and
you got to do what you got to do.
Because the first thing that I saw when I was looking at some statistics that roofers die at a rate of 29.9 deaths per 100,000 full-time workers. I mean,
really?
Yeah, it's a dangerous job, and so, that's the 5th highest work-related death among construction workers.
Huh.
And I was like, gosh, well, I hope Tim was careful up there on that roof. We need you to stick around.
Thank you. I will say one thing. I used my boat shoes. And that was the stupid thing, because I was feeling my feet as I was coming back down. No, going up it wasn't a big deal, but coming back down, I felt them start to slip, and I thought that was pretty stupid. I should have used at least sneakers.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you.
Yes, I made it.
Okay.
But thank you. I'm glad you were concerned.
Yes,
That's
I was. But in talking about the types of insurance that roofers need, the first thing I want to say is if you're hiring somebody to redo your roof at your home or your business, find out if they have insurance. That's important because a lot of them don't carry it, and it's a little more expensive maybe than some other construction type, although there's a lot of markets and you can pick and choose the coverages that you want, and it doesn't have to be that incredibly expensive. But don't let an uninsured business do your roof on your house. It might be a little bit cheaper. It's not going to be worth it if something goes wrong down the road. So, but roofers don't, they have specific insurance needs. The first one that comes to my mind is general liability, because everybody that has a business needs general liability. And in a nutshell, that covers if as a result of what they're doing, they damage somebody's property or somebody gets injured, their general liability would defend them and pay. And there's a lot of things now. It's not, unless you buy a special endorsement, it's not going to cover faulty workmanship on the roof, but you can cause damage to other parts of the property while you're there just working on the roof. So general liability is the must-have, in my opinion. Workers' compensation, I wouldn't have a business without workers' comp either. But definitely consider it, get a quote, and decide. And in Texas, you can be a non-subscriber from workers' comp. You don't have to carry it. But it's a good idea to at least look into it. And if you do decide to be a non-subscriber, understand what risks that opens you up to. And also the notification you need to make to your employees about being a non-subscriber. Then, of course, you're going to need an auto policy for your vehicles. And then some things that, these are optional, but something that as a roofing contractor you might want to consider is your equipment, your tools and equipment for the work that you do. You can usually add that onto a package and for very little money, and so if something happens to you, because it's not cheap to replace all that stuff, so that's something else. Then the big one is bonds, and bonds are completely different than insurance. A bond is a financial guarantee that the bonded company will do what they said they were going to do and pay their subcontractors and that kind of thing. The difference between a bond and insurance is if the insurance company has to pay, then they go back after, they collect from the person that they bonded. So now all jobs don't require bonds. You wouldn't just go get a bond. You would only get it if it's required, because what that bond, the payment performance bond, does is back up the contract, and so if there's no contract, you wouldn't need it. There's also license and permit bonds that you might need depending on what you're doing and who you're doing it for. But bonds, depending on what you need, bonds do take a little more time up front. So the earlier that you know you're going to need one, talk to your insurance agent. We'd love for you to give us a call, because they do a lot of underwriting on the front side to make sure that you're financially stable and all that, since they expect you to be a business that's going to do what you said and you're going to be able to afford to finish the job, and they don't want to ever pay a claim on a bond. So those are the highlights. Did you have anything, Lisa? I know we were talking a little bit about the cyber.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about cyber liability. So anybody somebody that's taking credit card payments or doing business over the internet, that's a really good protection. It's fairly new in the industry, so we've got lots of information to share with you about cyber liability and what it can cost if you're hacked.
Yeah, gosh, we've heard some horror stories, haven't we?
Absolutely.
And so that's what we have, and we would love for you to give us a call if you're a roofing contractor or any business, or your personal insurance as well. Bryan Insurance would love to help you, and you can call us, of course, at 940-549-2525. You can come see us, second floor Sierra Bank in downtown Graham, or visit us online at www.bryanins.com. Now, that website was down yesterday afternoon for maintenance, so I hadn't checked this morning. I hope it's back up, but it will be soon.
Yeah, and I would just like to say I'm out and I'm meeting people every day. I'm specifically going and meeting roofers right now, so if I stop by your business, just say hello.
You know, I don't want to start a whole new dialogue,
That's all right,
but let me ask you a quick question. Why did things change this last year on my insurance? I'm in a townhouse. That means I have a roof with other people, and we own our roofs on our sections. But I noticed there was some kind of a policy change that was, I guess, amplified on what the coverage is. Is that something new?
Oh goodness, there's been so many hail claims in North Texas. We have a lot of companies that won't even write property in North Texas.
Okay.
But, so I'm thinking it was probably, was it the cosmetic damage exclusion?
Probably,
Okay,
yeah.
that's something, actually started several years ago when there's some name for this laboratory, came up with a hail-resistive roof.
Uh-huh.
And then the Texas Department of Insurance required that homeowners companies give a discount if somebody has that roof. Well, you don't tell, I mean, I know this from experience, you don't tell an insurance company what to do very often. And but they were like, fine, we'll do that. But if it's truly hail resistive, we're not paying if there's dings in it, not cosmetic.
Gotcha.
So that was, at first, it was just only on those that had the hail resistive roofs. Now we're seeing that endorsement on, even, all composition roofs, all kinds of roofs. Another thing that's happening, and it's all because of the claims, to keep costs down, I guess, or for carriers to agree to remain in the state and write business. Sometimes they'll make the roof actual cash value, or there'll be a tiered, if depending on how old your roof is. In other words, if you have an older roof, they're not going to pay you to replace it. They're going to take off depreciation. So that's important, especially for a home, a business as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's something you might, because we've seen dozens of different endorsements. We were just talking about them the other day, and you really have to read them, because even the title doesn't really necessarily describe what the endorsement does. So if you don't know what kind of roof coverage you have, find out. And if you don't know, just call your agent and ask them if you don't know. And you read yours, but a lot of people don't. So, because don't be surprised. We always say, don't wait till you had a claim to find out what insurance you have. That's the worst type of education to get when it comes to insurance. So,
I know you've been doing this for nearly 30 years.
34 years.
34 years,
yeah.
okay.
Since I was 16.
Do you remember when Farmers Insurance left Texas
Oh,
for
yeah,
a while?
I sure do.
Yeah.
And then Allstate left too.
I didn't know that.
Over the mold.
Of the
When
mold
they started,
did?
when
Yeah.
the lawyer found the loophole in the mold on the homeowners that was never intended to be coverage.
Yeah.
The joke was at the lawyers convention that year, they had a big sign that said mold is gold. And they stopped writing temporarily new homeowners policies. They stayed on the ones they had until they came up with a form, and TDI accepted it, that gave limited mold, because it was
Yeah.
never meant to be covered. It was just a loophole in the language, and that's why the policies are so big and long and have all these endorsements, because anytime that somebody, I could give you a million examples, but if a company figures out some sneaky way to get something insured that wasn't meant to be and they weren't charging for, then you're gonna see an endorsement down the road to keep it from happening. And that's what, one of our jobs is to, because it's complicated and our clients are smart, they are busy, they do not have time to learn it, and so that's, we stay educated as much as humanly possible so that we can help see what kind of coverage you have, because you look at it and you're like, I just read it, I don't even know what that means. So yeah, we pride ourselves in that. We have, there's cheap ways to get education, and there's not as cheap, and it's not like we're throwing money out the door. We believe in good education, and our people are pretty diverse in what they do for their continuing education, so we kind of get it from a lot of ends, and we try to keep up. And if we don't know, we can find out, because we know who to ask too.
Very good.
So.
Lisa, Sonia, thank y'all for coming in.
Thank you.
Bryan Insurance.